Okay, hello everybody, welcome. So great to see you all. Thanks for joining us again. I'm Peter, and I'm going to be the host today. And yes, for those who are joining new, I will just give a little run through of the day. So we're going to start with a movie with David, and then afterwards we'll have a 10-minute break, followed by our breakout rooms. That's where you have an opportunity to share any emotions or anything that came up for you during the movie. And then after that, we'll have a 45-minute break. And then we'll have a Q&A session with me for the closing session. So I'm going to pass it over to you now, David.
Thank you, Pete. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're going to have a great time today. I've had a wonderful morning, just being filled up with what is all spooled up to come through me today. It's like on a spool, like an old sewing machine. It spools up and then it comes out. And I get to enjoy it just as much as you. So let's see what's on the spool today. Well, I know for you who follow along every week, I told you, last week I kind of prepared you and I said that last Saturday's movie would be like a root canal because I was going to do something rare. I was going to use a life of one of our fellow human beings, like I had done some years ago with Whitney Houston. And last week I used the life of Marilyn Monroe to do some teachings on exposing the ego, because I like to do comedies and I love to do real deep metaphysical movies, but I showed that movie, The Mystery of Marilyn Monroe, to use it for a teaching device, because you have to expose the ego. Our mind is so powerful that if you believe in the ego, it can bring you down into depression, into anxiety, into a sense of fear, guilt. And all of us know how sneaky the ego is because we've experienced those emotions, and they're not fun at all. Guilt is not a fun emotion. And death is not something that we would like to worship, even though Jesus is basically saying in the Course that as long as you believe in the ego, you are worshiping death instead of worshiping God. If you believe in the ego, you are a death worshiper. And that's pretty hard to hear. People call us names sometimes and they judge us, but death worshiper is not something that we like on our resume. That does not have a nice ring to it. But what Jesus is saying is, if you believe in the ego, you are worshiping death because you don't know your creator. And it's not like you're even aware that you're doing it. So last Saturday, I decided to show The Mystery of Marilyn Monroe, and we got to see how she went from a girl. Her mom had a lot of psychiatric problems, paranoia. She never really could connect much with her mother, her absent father. She was in 10 foster homes, and then when she was a teenager, she went to the movie theaters in Los Angeles and watched all these amazing movies, and she decided she wanted to be a movie star, and we know how that went. She became one of the most famous movie stars, the most famous women in the entire world, and especially in terms of sex appeal. And then she overdosed, and she committed suicide in 1962. So a couple people commented to me like, wow, I didn't realize that someone like Marilyn Monroe, who was so successful, would be suicidal. And that's because this world is backwards and upside down. Jesus actually says, you cannot judge your advances from your retreats. So when we watched the Marilyn Monroe movie, we're thinking, wow, she's hitting all the right boxes. She was successful in her career. She was famous. She was beautiful. She lived in a Hollywood house in Riverside in California, Los Angeles. And she had everything that the ego provided to distract her from the love of God. And that just shows that when you think you're succeeding in this world, you really need to stop a moment and say, what is the purpose of my life? Do I want inner peace? Do I want to be consistently happy and joyful? Or do I want to be successful as the world judges it? And thank you, Marilyn. Marilyn Monroe, wow, she taught us a lot last Saturday. So this morning, I was praying, and Jesus had me go into the next room, and he directed my hand to go to a book today, because I said, what am I going to talk about today? What do you want me to say? And he said, well, with Marilyn's story, you could just see that the ego uses the body for pride, for pleasure, and for attack. And you could see it. The pride and pleasure were obviously the sex symbol, the pleasure of sexuality, and the pride of being famous, a famous movie star. And then when she got into relationships like with Joe DiMaggio, she was filming a movie in New York City. Her skirt repeatedly was blown up, by the ventilation system on the street. People were watching. And her husband, Joe DiMaggio, got extremely angry, and he actually gave her a black eye. He actually physically assaulted her. There's the attack. That's when you have a husband striking you and giving you a black eye, that's the attack part. So pride, pleasure, and attack. Marilyn Monroe's story was saying, don't give your mind over to pride, pleasure, or attack, because you will feel guilt, sadness, depression, fear, anger. That's not the direction. So this morning, when I was asking Jesus about today's movie, he said, well, we're going to have a contrast movie. We're going to have a comedy, but I'm going to teach the contrast between the world's version of success and the spiritual version of success, which is inner peace. So we're going to juxtapose commerce with and profit with inner peace, because they don't have anything to do with each other. There's no commerce or profit in the kingdom of heaven. It's just peace. So we need to move in the direction of the peace, not in the direction of success as the world defines it. When I was growing up, I was so touched by Gandhi. I was touched by the lives of the mystics and saints. And I have to say, most of the mystics and saints that I read about were in India. I was reading books on mystics and saints, and most of them were from India. So India is kind of all the countries. That's the country that's loaded with mystics and saints. I mean, for centuries, it's loaded with mystics and saints. And then you look at a country like the United States, which is a relatively new country, and most people don't think of saints and mystics so much with the United States. I mean, I do. I consider Mary Baker Eddy a saint. And I look at people that there's not that many that are very well known, but there was one that touched me so much. And it's just that when this woman was the first woman to walk the Appalachian Trail in the United States, she just walked it by herself, 50 kind of miles of treacherous mountainous woods. She did it by herself. When her hair turned silver and white, she decided to let go of her earth name. she let go of her earth name, and she put on a blue tunic and some blue pants, and she wrote Peace Pilgrim. It was the letters Peace Pilgrim on the front. So most people don't even know her name because she let go of her name. It would be like you, it's like Bridget over there, Bridget Thomas, that you let go of Bridget and you just became known as Bliss or as Wisdom or Laverne. If you just decided you were going to be Happiness. Imagine taking your wardrobe, your whole wardrobe, and throwing it in the trash can and putting on a t-shirt that said Happiness, and then going hiking to demonstrate happiness to the whole world. That's what Peace Pilgrim did. I went on a pilgrimage for 5 years. Peace Pilgrim did it for 28 years. 28 years of walking around the United States and a little bit of Canada. She let go of her name. She didn't even start her pilgrimage until her hair was white and silver. So for any of you who are feeling like, oh, I blew it, I could have used this life for God, but instead I wasted it on a bunch of other things, think about Peace Pilgrim. She turns white, silver, and she takes off for 28 years on the road. Some of you, I was talking to my friend Rita Chance a couple of days ago, and she said, yeah, you know, I kept coming to the monastery and connecting with Suzanne and going deeper. And then I sold my business, my home care business, and I got down to 3 suitcases. And then I headed for Mexico, just trusting. Well, Peace Pilgrim, what did she get down to? She had a couple of pockets. She had a couple of pockets in her tunic, and she had 0 suitcases. She had 0. She went off walking. She was at the Rose Bowl parade in 1953. She put on her blue tunic and her blue pants, and she walked out of the Rose Bowl parade and started for 28 years traveling, speaking, having holy encounters. At one point, she said the most sermons that she gave in one day was 7, and she only went where she was invited. So you can imagine this woman walking around with this blue tunic and this blue pants, and she got invited one day to do 7 different sermons. Was she religious? She was a mystic. She wasn't a part of a denomination for a church. She didn't subscribe to a religion on earth. She just was into truth. She was into joy and happiness. She was into love and respect. And so this morning when I was walking through my room, Jesus had me reach down and pull out, just walking along the road. Can you imagine walking for like 28 years with a little tunic that said Peace Pilgrim? You gave up your name, you got white hair, and you're just walking along the long roads of the United States. People always used to say to me, I didn't even hear of her. If I ask everybody here, have any of you have heard of Marilyn Monroe? Okay, who's heard of Marilyn Monroe? Okay. But here's one who walked around most of the United States, some of Canada, for 28 years. No car, no tent, no RV. Nope, she walked and walked and walked. And they did ask her one time, when you sleep at night, where do you sleep? She said, well, usually on the side of the road under the stars. She said, with a big smile on her face, that's my favorite. The side of the road. She's not staying at the Holiday Inn. She's not even in a pup tent. She's on the side of the road with her hands behind her back, and she's sleeping, looking up at the stars. Now, this woman was fearless. This woman was fearless. But today, this morning, Jesus was saying, well, you showed the story of Marilyn Monroe last week and last Saturday, and it was kind of, everybody's like, wow, superstar, sex symbol, most famous woman maybe in the history of the world. and sex symbol and all this. And then she has suicide. She dies of suicide. Now he's saying we're going to talk about Peace Pilgrim, who went through the same kind of things that we all go through. She was born in 1908, and she went through the Roaring '20s, which was the first women's liberation, you know, dancing the Charleston, short bobby hair. It was after World War I, lots of abundance. The wealth of the United States doubled during the 1920s. Most of us were not around during the Roaring '20s, but I can tell you the women back there, they were called flappers because they loved to dance, they loved to smoke, they spoke their mind, they weren't into people pleasing, and that was the first generation of women's liberation on the planet. Really was 1920s of the United States. These women did not go with the convention. They went through, they worked jobs where before that, most of them were on farms. They loved to dance. They didn't dress the same. And Peace Pilgrim grew up on an egg farm in New Jersey. And then she went through her teen years and her 20s. Her teen years were basically during the Roaring '20s. So she got all of her wildness out when she was a teenager and in her early 20s. And then she did what a lot of women do. She got married and she had an unhappy marriage. Well, Marilyn Monroe, we know, with Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller, she had 2 unhappy marriages. But the difference was that Peace Pilgrim decided after her unhappy marriage that she would search for enlightenment and self-realization. She decided after her unhappy marriage to go for inner peace. She was going to find an unshakable inner peace, not jump into other relationships, not jump into becoming a career woman, not jumping into family. She decided she would go for inner peace. That's when she walked the Appalachian Trail, the first woman in the United States to walk the Appalachian Trail, because the deeper inside she went, she became fearless. She was fearless. I mean, believe me, if you're walking around the United States for 28 years with nothing, I mean, absolutely nothing that you can't carry in your pockets, I'm telling you, this woman was fearless. She was absolutely fearless. And so Jesus was reminding me today of Peace Pilgrim. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I adore Peace Pilgrim. He was like really saying like, she's really good. Because why? Is because she was a pilgrim. She, like in Mystic India, the movie, the pilgrim that walked all around India, she was the pilgrim that walked all around the United States, basically for 28 years. How does that relate to our movie today? Well, today's movie, we're going to have a pilgrim in our movie today. And our pilgrim is going to be played by Eddie Murphy. Oh, what a talented comedian he is. And yet in this movie, he's going to play Holy Man. He's going to play a pilgrim who just walks around the United States, just like Peace Pilgrim, with his pants and his little shirt. They both wore the same kind of uniforms. His is white and hers was blue. He's a man, a black man, and she's a white woman with silver hair. And white tunic, blue tunic. Basically, Holy Man is about a pilgrim who's walking along and he's going his pilgrimage. And every time he goes maybe like 10 or 15 feet, he bows down, his knees fall to the ground, and he bows over in prayer and he kisses the grass. That's a beautiful symbol of holiness, when you can live your life just walking and falling to the ground and kissing the grass like every 15 feet. That is a very devoted life. You know, maybe we talk about the whirling dervishes, you know, how they would spin for God. This is the life of a pilgrim as you're walking for God and you're putting your full attention on every step, like Thich Nhat Hanh taught, mindfulness with every step. Let every step you take be a graceful step for God. Every single step you take be all glory to God. Every step you take being your prayer to the love of God. So I thought, wow, that's right. Peace Pilgrim was a pilgrim. And I went on 5 years of pilgrimage, and probably the most helpful 5 years in the parable of David. I can't think of another 5 years that were more valuable, because I was traveling around the United States. I didn't know where I was going to stay from day to day. I didn't know where I would eat, how I would eat. I didn't know who I would meet. I really got into that peace pilgrim state of mind, like, woo. When you trust in God, you become fearless real quick, because you're not relying on insurance. You're not relying on houses, cars, conveniences, comforts. The ego, it tries to fool us and keep us asleep with false comforts and conveniences. And Peace Pilgrim was like, she's already been a flapper when she was a teenager. She's all flapped out. This woman is going for God, for truth. She would say, I'm going for truth, is what her word would be. And she was not going to be distracted by comforts and conveniences anymore. I asked Jesus, is there something I can read to my friends? This book was translated into 18 languages. She wrote another book about inner peace that was translated into 34 languages in the world. So if you've never heard of her, check her out. This is Peace Pilgrim. She's got a smile on her face, and she's absolutely fearless. You need a role model? That's right. Don't worry about Marilyn Monroe. Don't worry about somebody who became famous. This is somebody who is in the joy of the moment and trusting. So anyway, I'm just going to read you a couple. I'm popping open here to chapter 5. And the title of chapter 5 is Living the Simple Life. There it is. Living the Simple Life. Okay. Now I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs from Peace Pilgrim. She says, the simplification of life is one of the steps to inner peace. A persistent simplification will create an inner and outer well-being that places harmony in one's life. For me, this began with the discovery of the meaninglessness of possessions beyond any actual and immediate needs. As soon as I had brought myself down to the need level, I began to feel a wonderful harmony in my life between inner and outer well-being, between spiritual and material well-being. Some people seem to think that my life dedicated to simplicity and service is austere and joyless, but they do not know the freedom of simplicity. I am thankful to God every moment of my life for the great riches that have been showered upon me. My life is full and good, but never overcrowded. If life is overcrowded, then you are doing more than is required for you to do. Oh my gosh. 2 paragraphs from this woman. And if you lived it, she's just saying you would be so happy if you knew how little you need and how what you need is provided for you by the Spirit. If you would be indescribably happy if you knew. And she was a very happy woman, very happy woman. So I was asking Jesus, I said, wow, the world is backwards and upside down. Marilyn Monroe had it all, and she committed suicide, and she was intensely depressed. And Peace Pilgrim was wearing a tunic with a couple pockets, and really people say, what did she put in her pockets? Did she have a nail clipper in there? Did she have a comb? What was in there? No, she didn't even have a nail clipper and comb. What she did was people would write to her sister in New Jersey because they would pour out their hearts saying, help me. How can I learn to live a simple, happy life? They would write to her, but this was before the day of cell phones and tablets. This was back in the day of just postal mail. So people would write letters to this address in Cologne, New Jersey, and her sister, Helene, would forward all the letters that she would get to Peace Pilgrim, wherever she was, walking around the United States. And Peace Pilgrim would go to the post office, would get the letters. And then she had some paper and she had some envelopes and stamps. And that's what Peace Pilgrim carried. She didn't carry food. She carried communication instruments, a pen, some paper, and she would answer every letter that came to her. Now I know, imagine for yourself, if I said, will you answer every email that comes to you? You guys are gonna go, oh, that's David, that's why we have trash and delete button. David, it's called a spam filter. That's where my mail goes. But imagine Peace Pilgrim, this is before the internet. This was before the days of the internet. She traveled for 28 years and she would get letters from her sister mailed from Cologne, New Jersey into her. She put them in her little pouches, her little pockets, and then she would answer them, every single one of them. And when they asked her, why do you answer so many letters? She said, well, I can't carry them all because I've only got two small pockets, so I have to answer them. So she answered everybody that wrote to her for 28 years with handwritten letters from their handwritten letters that her sister mailed to her wherever she was. Now, if that's not an example of using the body as a communication device, she didn't carry food even. She just trusted that whatever she needed food, it would be given to her. And she wasn't looking for beds. She would sleep under the stars. And she basically loved to do that. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because Jesus wanted me to talk today about pilgrimages, and a pilgrim is one who trusts in divine providence from God. Pilgrims aren't interested in careers. She already did that. She worked at an egg farm. She worked at a factory. Peace Pilgrim was married. She did the whole thing, working, career, marriage. She did it all. And then she said, that's not it. I need to trust in God to provide for me, and I need to find inner peace. I need to find an unshakable inner peace, a fearless state of mind, because that's the state of mind of truth. In truth, we are fearless. We're fearless in the light. So I was kind of fascinated. I said to Jesus today, I said, well, anything else to tell me about Marilyn Monroe or Peace Pilgrim? And he said, well, they both lived in the same city, Los Angeles, California. The same city Rita Chance lived. Rita Chance, Marilyn Monroe, and Peace Pilgrim, all Los Angeles, California. What happened was in 1953, that was the year Marilyn Monroe, her star was rising. She was very famous. She'd already done a lot of famous movies, and she was living at the Wilshire Hotel. She was living in different hotels because she was a movie star in Los Angeles. And in 1953, Peace Pilgrim was at Los Angeles, and that's where she put on her tunic. She put on these blue pants, and she stepped out of the Rose Bowl parade in 1953, and there was Marilyn Monroe and Peace Pilgrim in the same city at the same time. And Marilyn would go on to make even more movies, marry Joe DiMaggio, marry Arthur Miller. She had the whole thing with the Kennedys, Bobby Kennedy and Jack Kennedy, and then she committed suicide. And that shows you how she was going up as the world would judge it. And then she went to suicide. And Peace Pilgrim, at that point, she'd already been a flapper in her teen years. She'd already done the marriage thing, and she was into truth. Oh, she was, what the world would say is she gave it all up. The world would say Peace Pilgrim was the most unsuccessful woman example in the history of the United States because she gave it up. She didn't believe in possessions. She didn't believe in wealth. She didn't even believe in taking care of her body. I mean, when you walk around the United States for 28 years without having any kind of a house, a car, a van. We used to like when people would take off in a van around the United States. She walked it. She walked it fearlessly. So that's what Jesus is saying. This world is backwards and upside down. Marilyn Monroe followed the ego and it led her to suicide. And she went up. In 1953, she was in Los Angeles going up, 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 as the world would judge it. And Peace Pilgrim was going down, down. She was like, she was not interested in anything. I mean, you know, you can just imagine the ego trying to tempt Peace Pilgrim. Tried to tempt her with sex. No, she's already been through the unhappy marriage. She's through with that. Trying to tempt her with wealth. She doesn't have any money. She doesn't carry a dime, not a single dime. You can't, and with fame, Peace Pilgrim could care less about fame. She was simply just being fully present and letting her life be a living demonstration of truth. I can't speak highly enough about Peace Pilgrim because she was one of the ones that inspired me. Without the Peace Pilgrims of the world, I wouldn't have gone on my 5 years. She did 28. I did 5. And after 5 years, I'm like, all right, Jesus, I see what you're pointing to. I'm all yours now. I am not going to be tempted by anything of this world to serve you instead, to know who I truly am as the Christ and to know peace of mind. So now you're saying, what does that relate to a comedy movie we're watching today? Well, actually, I said the comedy movie we're watching today is Holy Man. And Jesus said, this is a perfect teaching device for everyone. Everyone likes comedies. I promised you a comedy after the Marilyn Monroe movie last week. I said, I promise you a comedy. But what this is, Jesus was playing this today, and he said, this movie you're going to watch today, it would be like if Peace Pilgrim were alive today and she went on to the home shopping network on cable, on internet. If Peace Pilgrim walked into the home shopping network, which is all based on selling things and commerce and making money and everything, if Peace Pilgrim walked into the home shopping network, that's the same thing you're going to see as the movie today, because Eddie Murphy is a pilgrim and he is going to be guided out of his pilgrimage to go to an online shopping network reaching hundreds of thousands of people. And he's going to bring all of his humor, his presence, his simplicity, and his authenticity, the same things that Peace Pilgrim, exuded. She was a living demonstration of these things. So we're going to see today the world of commerce come and meet the world of God. Because remember, commerce is based on what? Getting. Get a profit, get the most money, accumulate the most money, buy more stores, wealth, 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 wealth. The dollar, people say they on the American currency, there's a phrase, "In God we trust." I think probably it should be more accurately put, the dollar, it should say, in money we trust. Because this is capitalism. capitalism is not about God. I'll tell you that. Well, neither is socialism or communism or all the isms, but actually capitalism is about making money, profit. And so the home shopping network we're going to see is all about profit. And the man who plays the owner of this company, he's very angry. He's all about profits. He's all about pride. He's all about control. And then we see Holy Man coming in there. And Holy Man is all about gratitude, giving thanks for everything, being honest, being direct, being happy. So we have Holy Man and his simple, joyful happiness, and commerce based on making money, profit, everything like this. And when they come together, you're going to start to see that you can't have both. You can't have both. If you have a profit-making mindset, you are into the getting mechanisms of the ego, period. And Peace Pilgrim was a great demonstration of that, because she already played it out. She did it, you know, she had the job, the husband, the career. And then when her marriage was unhappy, then she started to say, this is a trick. She, way before the Course was even channeled, Peace Pilgrim realized this world is a trick. And I don't need possessions to feel happy. I need to connect with my source. I need truth. I don't need money. I don't need career. I don't need houses. I need truth. And so she let go of her name. In fact, nobody knows what Peace Pilgrim was even called. I mean, Elton John, at least he did a song, Goodbye Norma Jean. So some of us have an idea with Marilyn, that Marilyn Monroe was her stage name. But I had to dig around a little bit. I said, what was this woman that nobody knows the name of? And her name was Mildred Lisette Norman. And she was born on July 18th, 1908. And then in 1953, when Marilyn Monroe was 27 and rising up to be the most famous woman in the world, actually Mildred Lisette Norman was only 45 in Los Angeles, and she was ready to launch on the pilgrimage of 28 years that would be her contribution to spiritual awakening. She left it all behind and she took off walking, and that was her pathway to God. She walked and she demonstrated the truth. And that you can see, that's where the intersection was. 1953 was when Peace Pilgrim started her pilgrimage and let go of everything, trusted in the source. And Marilyn became more and more famous, and she committed suicide in 1962. So these two women have a lot to teach us. You know, they're actually offering their examples for what to follow and what not to follow. They're very good examples of what to follow and what not to follow. Now, in the movie today, basically Eddie Murphy will play this holy man, and holy man's name is just G, the letter G. I think it stands for God, devoted to God, but that's his name, just G. He had a name, but just like Peace Pilgrim, he gave up his name and he took on G. She took on Peace Pilgrim, he took on G. He's going to come in contact with two people, Ricky Heyman and Kate Newell. Ricky Heyman works for the shopping network. He's concerned about his worldly life. He's concerned about having enough money in the bank. He represents a typical male human being who's trying to survive in the commercial world and to make it financially. And he's also the producer of this particular shopping network. He's not the owner of the company, but he's like the producer. And Kate is going to come in, and Kate and Ricky will get involved in a relationship, first a work relationship and then later a romantic relationship, but they have all the troubles of all special relationships. They have struggle, doubt, fear, all the things. Patty, I see you pumping there. You're working away. You know, you've been telling us about your dating experiences. Yeah, Peace Pilgrim, she's one to look up. That'll bring those troubles to a quick end. Check out Peace Pilgrim. But what we're going to see here is even their relationship is very, very tense between Ricky and Kate, even though they're working together for the same company and they're trying to improve the ratings to make more money. Deep down, everybody wants love and everybody wants connection and everybody wants to feel alive. That's all we want. Love, connection, feel alive. We're not asking for too much. We're asking for what God gave us in our creation. You know, we're just asking to be natural. Help me be natural. And so Holy Man is going to be a movie that's going to contrast the commercial world, which is the world of the ego, with a simple pilgrim who is very devoted to God and happiness. You know, I can't think of a better one to play a holy man in this movie than Eddie Murphy, because God is funny. And if you're going to live a holy life, God wants you to laugh a lot. And this movie is really good for that, because Holy Man just doesn't buy into the things of the world. He's not interested in success, material success. He's not interested in career. He's not interested in fame. When he gets invited home to Ricky's house, he wants to sleep on the floor. He wants to sleep on the floor. He loves to sleep on the floor, not on a mattress. He makes jokes. And that is like Peace Pilgrim. She just slept on the side of the road. And here, Holy Man likes to sleep on the floor. There's a lot of similarities here because they're not concerned with the body. They're not concerned with, a pilgrim is not concerned with housing. A pilgrim's not concerned with whether it's organic or inorganic. A pilgrim is not concerned whether it's politically correct or not. Pilgrim is into truth, not opinion. Pilgrim is into truth, not theology. Pilgrims don't care about the theology. They're just totally uninterested in theology. They're into living in the present moment in truth. And that's all they're into. Isn't that wonderful? You know, in one sense, this is the kind of person that could be your spiritual mother because she's fearless. That's the kind of spiritual mother you need as a role model, is somebody who's absolutely fearless. Because that's what spirituality is. It's about love. And love and fear don't go together. So when you go for divine love, you're going for the whole enchilada. You're not messing around. You're going for the everythingness. So that's my setup for today. I'm inspired. I just wake up ready to show a movie, and Jesus has got me in. I haven't been in my Peace Pilgrim book for probably 15 years, and he's got me in here, and I'm all fired up. I've got tears of joy, reconnecting with this presence. And then all for this morning, because we have actually a saint, a holy man on a pilgrimage who's going to help us see what's valuable and what is valueless. Material abundance is a contradiction in terms. You should never have those two words together. Those, I don't care. I know people in the New Age don't like it when I say that, but material abundance is a contradiction in terms. You can't know true abundance of the present moment if you are into materiality. And I mean in the slightest way. And Peace Pilgrim, she demonstrated it. You know, she still walked, she still ate food, but she waited until it was offered to her. You see, she didn't seek it. She waited till it was offered. She still had holy encounters. She still talked to people. She still was friendly. She was kind. But when you talk to Peace Pilgrim, if you tried to talk politics to her, you know, she probably would just smile at you because she's not interested in politics. If you're going to talk about the problems of the world, she would probably, again, just had a big smile on her face because she's not interested. She knows there aren't any. Why would she talk to you about the problems of the world and opinions if she was aware that there aren't any? You see, that's what a pilgrim, that's why you walk, that's why you take a pilgrimage, is to find the actual experience of fearlessness, of truth, the actual experience. It's not a concept or a theology, it's an actual living experience. And I am so grateful for the examples and the symbols of that really showed us you can live this. Micah and Amanda, they were down in Mary Magdalene's cave. Yeah, get down into that vibe. That's the kind of vibe that's not of this world. That'll teach you devotion. Spend a few hours down there, then come out and see if you have any longings for a career. You won't. If you go in Mary Magdalene's cave and spend a few hours down there, your career is shot. Your career is shot after you come out of the cave, because Mary Magdalene's energy, her energy is so strong and so present that you just find the rest of the world just fading away in your mind just by being in touch with that energy. So I'll join you during the movie, and this is going to be a comedy, and you're going to enjoy this movie. It's going to, you'll be laughing at the contrast between commerce and truth. So talk to you soon.